Christi Spicuzza, a devoted mother of 4, was just trying to earn some extra money through Uber. But in February of 2022, she picked up an unsettling passenger and never came home. As her fiancé's worst fears grew, the search for her became a desperate race against time. The clues to uncovering exactly what happened that night were hidden in the technology Christy used every day. But it was her dashcam, installed to protect her, that ultimately gives us a harrowing insight into the young mother's final moments.
I have 4 kids, what are you doing?
Hello and welcome to the Little Shop of Crime. My name is Steve, and in store today we have evidence that just refuses to stay lost, an Amazon driver who delivers shocking news, and a killer who caught a bus that doesn't exist. I've been following this case for ages, and it's only recently come to its conclusion. Well, almost. So stick around to see the ingenious way police pieced together the chilling timeline, and let's find out exactly what happened to Christi Spicuzza. Today's story begins in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania, a little tight-knit borough about 12 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. It's quiet, with tree-lined streets and a small-town feel, an affordable place to live and raise a family. Exactly what Christina Spicuzza was doing in 2022. Christina, known to most as Christy, was born in 1983. She was one of 5 siblings, raised in nearby Monroeville. In 2006, she went to college to study polysomnography, the science of sleep. And it was around this time she met her future fiancé, Brandon. Together they built a life and raised 4 children, Andrea, Drew, Scotty and Tori. Christy was a devoted mother. Her world revolved around her family, and she was passionately creative. She described herself as an artist who loves to use all mediums. Christy had a real zest for life. According to her loved ones, no matter what was going on in her life, she was always smiling, always positive, and always loving. I know, they always say that. But with Christy, all you have to do is look through her pictures. You'll struggle to find one where she's not sporting a huge grin. Christy worked for a local bank, but like many people these days, she picked up some gig work in the evening, driving for Uber to help with the bills. By February 2022, she'd been working part-time for them for about a year. Brandon was worried about her driving alone at night, so he installed a dashcam in her car, and everything was fine. Until February 10th. A day that would have a devastating impact on the family. Christy had been out that evening. She called Brandon at 8:59 p.m. to let him know she wasn't coming straight home. She was going to run a few Ubers to make a little extra money. Seconds later, a request came in. A woman named Tanea was waiting to be picked up at this spot on Brinton Avenue in Pitcairn. The ride was headed to the Penn Hills area, about 20 minutes away. Christy set off to collect her passenger. This was her first request of the night. And her last. Brandon began to worry when he stopped hearing from Christy that night. It was unusual. She always checked in with him, every hour, without fail. By dawn, there was still no sign of her, and he was beside himself with worry. Desperate, he began calling hospitals and jails to see if she'd been checked in. He even called the morgue. Later that morning, an official missing persons report was filed. Police began to retrace her steps. Uber cooperated fully. According to them, Christy had picked up her passenger and the ride was completed as normal 20 minutes later in Penn Hills. She didn't pick up any other riders and they had no information about what might have happened to her after this. The community was told to be on the lookout for Christy's silver 2018 Nissan Sentra. Meanwhile, police turned to Allegheny County's network of license plate cameras. The car was captured at various locations throughout the previous evening. The last sighting was a camera in Turtle Creek, not far from Christy's home, around midnight. It was heading towards Pitcairn. Police used all this information, along with CCTV footage and doorbell camera sightings shared on social media, to piece together a timeline of the car's movements. And it was eventually discovered early the following morning, here on 4th Street in Pitcairn, just a few blocks from where Christy had picked up her passenger 2 days before. The car was locked, with no sign of Christy. But there was something inside that struck fear into Brandon. In a statement made online, he said, "I'm so scared because inside the car was her purse, and she never, ever would leave her purse in the car. This pain is unreal. One thing was missing though, the dashcam he'd purchased for her. 3 more agonising hours passed with no news, until midday on February 12th, 2022, when Brandon's worst fears came true. An Amazon delivery driver making his rounds spotted something from his van, about 40 feet from the road, on the other side of a small creek. What he first hoped was a discarded pile of clothing turned out to be the lifeless body of Christi Spicuzza. She was discovered lying face down in the dirt of a wooded area off Rosecrest Drive in Monroeville, the town she'd grown up in. The mother of 4 had been shot once in the back of her head from point-blank range. She'd been led into the woods and brutally murdered execution style. A single 9mm shell casing was found nearby. What began as a routine missing person case had now turned into a homicide investigation. Police were eager to figure out what happened after Christy completed her Uber trip and how she ended up dead in the woods. So they turned once again to the map of license plate hits, and one of them stood out. It seemed out of place. Christy's car had apparently been driven from Pitcairn to the Westinghouse Bridge and then back again. Beneath the bridge, a pink cell phone with a cracked screen was recovered. It was Christy's. Someone had driven her car across the bridge and thrown her phone over the edge, onto the train tracks below. The phone was a goldmine of crucial information. Its data revealed that someone had tried to access numerous banking and money transfer apps. This meant that robbery was a probable motive. Even more crucially, forensic analysis allowed detectives to extract the phone's GPS data, providing them with a full map of its movements that night. Christy's car had come to a stop several times that night, both before and after it reached the wooded area where her body was found. So detectives got to work. Various teams methodically canvassed every one of these locations, searching for any clue as to what might have happened to Christy. They left no stone unturned. Then, 1 week after she vanished, while checking the bushes by this fence on Dersom Street in Penn Hills, not far from where the Uber trip was completed, police found something that would blow this case open. Christy's missing dashcam. It was intact, and the SD card was still inside. This is what it had captured.
Hi, Britannia. How are you today?
Christy arrived to pick up her passenger just before 9:15. She was expecting a woman named Tanea, but the person who entered her car was a man. His hood was up and he was wearing a balaclava, so only his eyes were visible. 10 minutes into the ride, Christy tried to strike up a conversation.
Did you have a good day today?
The man responded with a mumble, and the rest of the journey was silent, other than the occasional instruction from the sat-nav. But right before they arrived at the destination, the man shuffled across to the middle seat. The moment the car stopped, he demanded Christy complete the trip, grabbed her hair, and pulled out a 9mm pistol, placing it against the back of her head. Confused, she reached back to feel the weapon in disbelief.
What are you doing?
This is a gun. Keep driving.
No, it's not. Stop. Come on, man. I got a family. What are you
I got
doing?
a family too. Now drive.
What are you doing?
Drive.
Please stop.
Drive the car, miss.
I have 4 kids. What are you doing?
Drive the car.
Soon after, he reached forwards and took Christy's phone.
No.
He then ripped out the dashcam and threw it out of the car window into the bushes by Dersom Street, where it was later found. The last words on the recording are of the man telling Christy that if she did what he said, everything would be alright. But this was a lie. But detectives already had a good idea who the man in the footage was, because 3 days earlier they'd spoken to Christy's supposed passenger, Tanea. She denied knowing that anything had happened that night, and a solid alibi put her 7 miles away, at her father's house in Swissvale. But she did order the Uber. Apparently her boyfriend Calvin had asked her to arrange it, to pick him up from her place in Pitcairn and take him to an address he'd given her in Penn Hills. Police were very keen to speak with him, given he was the last known person to see Christy alive. In an hour-long interview, Calvin repeatedly denied any knowledge of what had happened to Christy. According to him, he took the ride, everything was normal, and Christy was in good spirits. He got out in Penn Hills as planned, checked an old address for mail, then later caught a bus home from a station in Wilkinsburg. This was his alibi. But it fell apart when detectives poured through the station's surveillance footage. No one matching Calvin's description got on or off a bus there that night. In fact, the bus he said he took, it didn't even stop there. His story was a flimsy lie. Well, now they knew why. In another interview, Tanea told police that her 9mm handgun had recently gone missing, the same type of weapon used to kill Christy. She suspected Calvin had taken it. He denied it, but no one else had the opportunity. Christy's dashcam was the evidence police needed, and Calvin Crew was apprehended at 7 p.m. on the day it was recovered. He was charged with criminal homicide, robbery, theft of a motor vehicle, carrying a firearm without a license, and tampering with evidence. His request for bail was denied. Calvin Crew was a 22-year-old man well known to the authorities. His rap sheet began with a robbery conviction at just 14 years old, and recently an arrest warrant was issued after he was caught lying about his record when trying to buy a gun. And it looked like he wasn't going to get away with this one either. Now that detectives had all the pieces, they were able to put together a timeline of the crime. Phone records showed Crew called his girlfriend right before she ordered the Uber. She did this at 8:53 p.m. using her Apple Pay. The app matched the trip with Christy. What Christy didn't know was that, by sheer chance, she'd become the target of a man with a significant criminal history, an outstanding warrant, and who was illegally in possession of a loaded handgun. An hour and 15 minutes later, she was dead. Further phone records show that Crew had been texting Tanea throughout the ride, apparently talking about picking up some cannabis. At one point she texted him saying, "Whatever you're doing tonight, be careful." After stopping at the drop-off point, Crew demanded Christy mark the trip as completed so it looked as though the ride had gone normally. He then threw the dashcam into the bushes and forced her to keep driving, through several neighbourhoods, for 45 minutes while he attempted to rob her. He tried to access various banking and money transfer apps on Christy's phone, but he was unable to take a single cent from the accounts. At 10:20 p.m, Crew ordered Christy to stop on Rosecrest Drive. He marched her into the woods, no doubt listening to her beg for her life. 40 feet from the road, he murdered her, and left 4 children without a mother. She was just 38 years old. After brutally killing Christy, Crew stole her car and cruised around for a while, picked up by numerous license plate cameras. He visited his cousin and drove to the Westinghouse Bridge, where he tossed her phone over the edge, presuming it would never be found. He then abandoned Christy's car in Pitcairn, just a few blocks from his home. The following night, Tanea texted Crew saying, "I'm not going to jail if we get caught." Police refused to speculate on what the message meant, but Tanea was fully cooperative throughout the investigation and has never been charged with any crime related to Christy's death. After 3 years of investigation, the trial of Calvin Crew finally began on February 3, 2025. The courtroom was packed with friends and family of both Crew and Christy. Initially, prosecutors planned to seek the death penalty, but just before the trial began, they announced they no longer would. The reasons for this, I don't know. There's a gag order in place. But what I do know is Crew's public defender tried to have the dashcam footage thrown out. He argued that Pennsylvania law requires people to be notified when they're being recorded. Crew had never given his consent. But he knew he was being filmed. The dashcam had a screen facing inwards, plus the fact he removed and disposed of the camera proves he was aware of it. The judge ruled that this was implied consent, and the footage could be used as evidence. But Crew's attorney argued that he shouldn't be facing a first-degree murder charge at all. He said whoever killed Christy should be found guilty of second-degree murder, not first, since the intent wasn't to kill. It was a robbery gone wrong. He said it would be stupid to target someone in a car with a camera, to have had an Uber pick them up from a known address, to use a company whose entire business model was based around tracking movements. He said no one in their right mind would set out to commit a first-degree murder without wearing gloves. But stupidity does not equal innocence. And the prosecution reminded the jury that Christy was just a mum doing her best to support her family. She just had the misfortune of picking up a heartless man willing to rob and murder her. The dashcam footage was played to a stunned courtroom. No reaction from Crew. No emotion at all. 17 witnesses were called by the prosecution. The last of these was Tanea. She testified that the Springdale 9mm handgun in the footage was identical to the one that had gone missing from her drawer. The weapon was never recovered. She told the jury that Crew had urged her to lie to police and say she'd lost it. She also said he video called her later that night and he appeared to be driving a car. The case came to a close on the 3-year anniversary of Christy's death. The 12 jurors deliberated for less than an hour that morning before returning their verdict. Calvin Crew was found guilty of first-degree murder, as well as robbery, kidnapping, gun charges, and tampering with evidence. A heavy silence filled the courtroom as the verdict was read. Crew now faces the possibility of life in prison without parole. He's due to be sentenced on May 5th. Christy's case shines a harsh light on the risks of gig economy jobs, where drivers pick up strangers, trusting apps with tracking and verification to keep them safe. Yet, as her story shows, these systems can fail when it matters most. 1 year after Christy was killed, her mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Uber, claiming simple measures could have saved her life: screening passengers, allowing drivers to cancel suspicious fares without penalty, or adding safety features to Uber-approved rentals like Christy's. Uber expressed sympathy but denies responsibility. They say they cannot be held accountable for crew's actions. This case remains ongoing. And that concludes the case of Christi Spicuzza and another dumb criminal. I mean, people usually drive for Uber or similar jobs just to make ends meet. I'm not sure how much money crew expected to steal from her. The first thing Christy thought of when her life was in danger was her 4 children, and now a senseless murder driven by petty greed has left those 4 children without a mother. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. It was another very sad one, but if you found this video informative, please do me a favour. Hit like, leave a comment, subscribe, all of that stuff really helps, and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Take care.